Hello and welcome, friends. Welcome to another episode where I review vintage fountain pens. Today I have for you an iconic American fountain pen. I say American because it is produced by the great manufacturer Parker. We are going to talk today about this beautiful Parker Vacumatic, and I called it an American fountain pen, but in fact, this fountain pen was made at the factory that Parker had in Canada. Before I will show it to you, let me tell you this is a rather large fountain pen, a beautiful fountain pen. But before I will get into details, let me compare it, let me give it a historical perspective. Well, I have right here an iconic Parker fountain pen from the 1920s and early 1930s. Of course, I have here the beautiful Parker Duofold. This was the flagship, the main and the most recognizable, the main workhorse, the most expensive and the most recognizable fountain pen made by Parker. If you are not familiar with this, it had this button filler type of filling mechanism with ink. So you push down this button, there is a lever inside here and an ink sac. The lever pushes on the ink sac and it creates the vacuum that draws the ink in the body. Well, one of the drawbacks of the sac filling pens was the ink capacity. So, because you needed room for the sac in the body and the compression mechanism, so that lever that pushes on the sac, there was a limit to how much ink you can get into a button filler or a lever filler. In the 1930s, Parker came out with an interesting solution. What if the suction could be created in the entire pen barrel rather just on an inner sac? Practically, they replaced the sac with a flexible diaphragm at the rear of the pen. When the diaphragm was pushed inwards by a plunger, air was forced out of the pen. When the diaphragm was released, ink was taken up. A breather tube was added, and I hope you can see it in this lighting. So a breather hole was added to prevent ink taken up by one stroke of the plunger from being squeezed out by the next stroke. This innovative mechanism was named the Vacumatic, and indeed it allowed for a far greater portion of the barrel to be filled with ink in comparison with the old system with the inner sacs. Practically another drawback of the inner sacs, a button filler or a lever filler, was that the lack of an ink window. It was impossible to see how much ink you had left. But this problem was solved by Parker They used this transparent material in the making of this fountain pen. And guys, I hope it can it shows, yes, this transparency. I hope you can see in this lighting. This is a different material from the cap. If you unscrew the cap, we can see that this is black, but this has a transparency. The celluloid is amazing. Look at my finger. Okay. Now that I've explained the old generation, well, this is the new generation, and it should be interesting to compare them at first glance. You can see in this lighting that we have the introduction of the famous arrow shape clip. So if this clip was popular in the 1920s and early 30s, when this comes out, we can see the beautiful arrow clip. This isn't flat, it has a jewel, quite nice. It reminds us of a future model, the Parker 51. This has 3 rings, quite thick rings. This has 2 rings. Of course, the filling mechanism and the transparent body that I've told you about, and the ending in this jewel. It is quite a large fountain pen. It's almost the size of the great duofold. And for the moment, I will leave the duofold aside. We will concentrate on our fountain pen. Unfortunately, guys, I am filming this in the night time, so I don't have many natural light. I hope we can distinguish some of the imprints on this fountain pen. Let me start with the barrel. So we can see made in Canada, Vacumatic, patent number 318982, and I believe it's a 25 or 35. And then we have registered trademark, other patents pending. Again, other traits, factory traits, are engraved here, and this is rather tricky to read. Number 734404. We have engraved here on the ring of the clip. And if I'm not mistaken, there is also another imprint that I recently saw, but I really don't know where exactly it is. The cap unscrews like this, and it reveals this wonderful nib. I have to tell you guys that I fell in love with this nib, this arrow shape that you can see in the middle of it. It's amazing. It's a 14 karat nib, Parker Vacumatic, and there is something imprinted over there, maybe made in Canada or something like that. I like the slightly concave ending of the grip section, and of course you got to love this clean looking ebonite feed. Wonderful feed. Not in the shape of a Christmas tree like we had on the previous model, but in this shape. Let me show you also the old nib and the new nib. They are similar in a way. They are one color nib, both 14 karat gold. I must confess to you guys that I don't really know the principles of the Vacuumatic. I simply know that I was amazed when I found out that you can unscrew this ending. It reveals something that looks like a button filler, but when you push on it, it reveals this spring and this mechanism, and I found it fascinating. I believe it rotates, so you push on it and it rotates to hold in the ink. You can see it's rather clean, and I hope with your permission you will allow me not to fully draw the ink with it, so I will just dip the pen in ink. I'm sorry guys, but I don't know much about it and I don't want to ruin it. It shows signs of use. You can see in the breathing hole some oxidation made by the ink on the gold. And guys, because I don't really understand this filling mechanism, I just show you how it is, and with your permission I will simply dip the pen in ink. As a matter of fact, now it is the proper time to leave its dimensions on the screen. So this is our fountain pen. This is the old duofold, the previous generation, and whatnot. If I show you the previous model, let's show you the Parker 51, which was the successor of this model. Of course, this variant of the Parker 51 is equipped with a aerometric filling mechanism. When it came out, the Parker 51 had also a blind cap and had the same vacuumetric type of filling mechanism. So guys, I will leave the dimensions of our Parker Vacuumatic made in Canada on the screen, and after that I will do the writing sample. So before I will do the writing sample, let me show you the jewel on the Parker 51, some elements of design. You can see lots of similarities between them. Even the clip arrow, it's similar. Of course, the Parker 51 is a thicker design. And I got to love the simplicity of the Parker 51. But when it comes to beauty, I got to say I love this transparent body. It seems wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Guys, I will leave the duofold and the Parker 51 aside. For the writings sample, what ink should I use? Only the Parker Quick Ink would be appropriate. And now, with your permission, I will change the angle of the camera for you to have a better perspective. Okay, here is the fountain pen. By the way, guys, I forgot to mention that the elements, that numbers, they are experts out there that can identify based on that numbers the year of production of this fountain pen. If I'm not mistaken, this is from the 1940s, but I have to decipher correctly those imprints because there could be a difference between a number 26 and the number 36, for example. I understand that each year of production has its own number. Okay, guys, this is the ink. This is a Parker Quick ink. I will shake it a little bit. I will place it here. Always be prepared and have a tissue when you fill them with ink. I will put the cap here. I will dip the ink in the fountain pen in ink. Okay, now I will gently, only the grip section, I will clean it. I will clean only the grip section. This is the cap, guys. I will show you that you can post quite secure the cap. It looks like this, a wonderful classic. You know I prefer to leave them uncapped, so I will put the cap here. And now let me write. So this is a Parker Vacumatic. This particular model is made in Germany. Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. I was used to other fountain pens. It is made in Canada, in fact, Canada. It has a beautiful 14 karat gold nib with that shape, that engravings you can see on it of that beautiful arrow. A 14 karat gold nib. Judging by the way it writes, I think this is an M nib, M for medium. I'm quite curious to see how it performs. We have an open nib. Let me see if we have some. Yes. It has a little bit of flex to it. Definitely the tines. You can see they move from each other. It is not designed to be flexed. I don't want to ruin it, guys. So let me say no. Or no, better I say a little flex. Maybe it can show if I can, yes, I can zoom it on it and I will show it. Look, you can see the tines are slightly moving. Now no pressure. If I put this, you can see we have a quite nice juicy nib. Speaking about pressure, here no pressure and here pressure, so we definitely have also a little line variance. You gotta love this nib, it's quite nice. Let me see on a signature. Yes, it does what you are expecting it to do. It's smooth, it has that ink flow, and it is quite amazing. I'm quite pleased with this nib. I only thought that it looks good, but it doesn't perform. It's just like an old American stiff nib, but I'm impressed. So a little flex, a little line variance. Let me see, I'm quite curious to see if we can reverse write with it. Reverse writing. Definitely an yes, guys. It writes like an F for a fine. Doesn't scratch, doesn't lose its ink flow, so definitely a possibility. Now let me tell you about the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Well, I love the sound of the nib on paper, guys. It relaxes me in a way. This is the way it writes. You can't go wrong with this beautiful, beautiful, amazing fountain pen. And most important is that you can find it on the second-hand market at amazing prices. Practically, the Parker Vacumatic is one of the most iconic vintage American fountain pens, and the combination of exquisite celluloid material, the large ink capacity, and the well-built construction of it, and the high-quality gold nibs makes this a great buy and a nice addition to your collection. I am quite fortunate to have it in my collection. I believe it's a wonderful writing instrument, and you can't go wrong with the iconic Parker 51. Every collector should having its collection at least one Parker 51, but it should also have the Vacuumatic and the Duofold, the iconic models of the Parker company. Those are the models that made the Parker company a legend in the world of fountain pen building. Thank you guys for your time. I hope you've enjoyed the review of this wonderful vintage American beauty, or should I say Canadian beauty. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to my channel to support my activity. This is the only way you can help me for the moment. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for viewing this review. I will see you at the next episode. Remember, the school has just begun, and remember, the doors of the schools have opened, and in the next few days I will review some school fountain pens just for you guys. I hope you will like them. They are affordable school fountain pens and they write amazing. Thank you. Bye bye and stay safe, guys.